The nature of the roots of a quadratic equation. Our quadratic equation is of the form a x squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And then, out of this quadratic equation, we have the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Again, this is the discriminant. And our nature of the roots is dependent on the value of the discriminant. Okay, so first case, if our discriminant, again, our discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So if the discriminant is less than 0, if the discriminant is less than 0, okay, the nature of the roots are imaginary. Or, when we speak of imaginary, has no real roots. So there are no real roots if the discriminant is less than 0. Second situation, if the discriminant which is b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. Okay? Again, if the discriminant is greater than 0, so this is greater than 0, and a perfect square, in this case, the nature of the roots, our roots are real, rational, and the roots are not equal. And then we have the third scenario, or the third case. For our third case, if our discriminant, again, our discriminant, it is b squared minus 4ac. So if our discriminant is greater than 0 and not a perfect square and not a perfect square, the nature of the roots, so our roots here, the roots are real, irrational, and the roots are not equal. And the last, if our discriminant, or if our discriminant, or if b squared minus 4ac, if b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. If b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0, so the nature of the roots here, our roots are real, rational, and the roots are equal. So these are the 4 cases wherein the discriminant will be the basis to find the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation. Okay, our problem here, we have the quadratic equation x squared minus 5x plus 10 equals to 0. Okay, so we know that this is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Let us find the values of a, b, and c. So the value of a here so our a is the numerical coefficient of our first term. Since there is none, this is considered as 1. So our a is positive 1. Our b is the numerical coefficient of the second term, that is negative 5. And our c is the constant, so we have here positive 10. Okay, so we are now going to find or to compute the discriminant of this quadratic equation. So to find for the discriminant, the equation for the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so b squared minus 4ac. Now let us solve for the value of the discriminant. So our b here is negative 5, and this is raised to the power of 2 minus 4 multiplied by a, which is 1 multiplied by 10. So our discriminant here, we will have negative 5 raised to the power of 2, that is 25, minus 4 times 1, that is 4 times 10, that's 40. So this is negative 15. Okay, now take note, our discriminant is a negative number. Okay, so basing on the conditions, on the 4 conditions of the nature of the roots of a quadratic equation, okay, we know that if the discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, is less than 0, okay, the roots are imaginary. Okay, so for our problem here, since b squared minus 4ac, so since b squared minus 4ac is equal to negative 15, okay, so the roots here, they are imaginary. And this is our final answer. Our next problem, we have the given, we have 2x squared plus 3x plus 4 equals to 0. So again, this is of the form a x squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And the values of a, b, c, so we have a, okay, that is the numerical coefficient of our first term, so our a is positive 2. Our b is the numerical coefficient of the second term, that is positive 3. And our c, which is the constant, is positive 4. And then our discriminant here is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so this is, our b here is positive 3 raised to the power of 2 minus 4 multiplied by 2, and our c is 4. So this will be equal to 3 raised to the power of 2 is positive 9, minus, we have here 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 4, and that is negative 32. And then 9 minus 32, 9 minus 32, that will give us negative 23. Okay, now since b squared, okay, since our discriminant here, b squared minus 4ac, is less than 0, okay, so since it is less than 0, the roots are imaginary. So again, b squared minus 4ac less than 0 is less than 0, so the roots are imaginary. This is our final answer. Our next problem, we have x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals to 0. Again, this is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So the value for a here, our a, which is the numerical coefficient of our first term, there is none, so this is considered as 1. So our a is positive 1, our b, that is positive 10, and our c, which is the constant, is positive 25. And then we are now going to solve for the discriminant. So our discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay. So this will be equal to, our b here is positive 10. This is raised to the power of 2 minus 4 multiplied by a, which is 1. And this will be multiplied by c, which is 25. Okay. So 10 raised to the power of 2, this is 100, minus 4 times 25, that is also 100. So our discriminant here is equal to 0. So since our discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, this is equal to 0. This is equal to 0. Okay. So the roots here, so the roots are real, rational, and equal. So again, our discriminant is equal to 0. The roots are real, rational, and equal. This is our final answer. Our next problem, we have x squared plus 9x plus 18 equals to 0. This is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And then our values for a, b, and c are as follows. So for a, since there is no numerical coefficient, it is understood as 1. So our a is positive 1. Our b is the numerical coefficient of our second term, and this is positive 9. And our c, which is the constant, that is positive 18. And we are now going to solve for the discriminant. So our discriminant here is b squared minus 4ac. And then by direct substitution, so our b here is positive 9. Raise that to power of 2 minus 4 multiplied by a, which is positive 1, multiplied by c, which is positive 18. So 9 raised to the power of 2, this will give us 81, minus, we have 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 18, that will give us 72. So 81 minus 72, that is equal to positive 9. Okay. So our b squared here, so our b squared minus 4ac, so our b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0 and a perfect square. And perfect square. So since this is greater than 0 and perfect square, the nature of the roots, they are real, rational, and unequal. Again, Our discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0 and a perfect square. 9 is a perfect square. So the nature of the roots, they are real, rational, and unequal. These are our final answers. Our next problem, we have y squared minus 6y plus 6 equals to 0. So this is of the form a y squared plus by plus c equals to 0. So the values for a, b, and c are as follows. Our a, since there is no numerical coefficient, this is understood as 1. So our a is 1. Our b, this is the numerical coefficient of the second term, that is negative 6. And our c, which is constant, is positive 6. And then our discriminant here, the value of discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. So this discriminant here, our b here is negative 6. This is negative 6 raised to the power of 2 minus 4 minus the value of a, which is positive 1, or rather negative 4 times a, which is positive 1, multiplied by c, which is positive 6. So negative 6, that is positive 36, minus 4 times 1 times 6, that is minus 24. So we have here 36 minus 24, that is positive 12. So our discriminant here, which is b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0, but not a perfect square. Greater than 0, but not a perfect square. The nature of the roots now. So since this is greater than 0, but not a perfect square, the roots are real, irrational, and the roots are unequal. Again, the discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0, but not a perfect square. The roots are real, irrational, and unequal. These are our final answers.